Good evening and welcome to Salt Lake City, Utah, where Friday Night Frisbee, presented by Pabst Light, takes the stage. It's the Seattle Cascades and the Salt Lake Shred. Week 5 in the Ultimate Frisbee Association, and what a Friday night it has already been. We got a beautiful evening for Frisbee here in Salt Lake City, Utah. The Cascades desperate for a win, and for the Salt Lake Shred, they're trying to get to 2-1 on the season. Good evening and welcome everybody. Evan Lepler alongside Bryan Jones. Bryan, welcome to the UFA season. We've missed you through the first 4 weeks, but it's great to be back with you. And what a Friday night it has been already. 2 epic one-goal games in Philly and Carolina, and the road team wins both of them. New York gives the Phoenix their first loss of the year, and the San Diego Growlers improved to 4-1 with a double overtime victory over the Carolina Flyers. Hopefully this game tonight here in Utah is just as exciting.
Yeah, for New York, they saved their season. Their backs were against the wall. It looks like they're going to have a tough time. And then for San Diego, getting that big win on the road, in double overtime, breaking the win is huge.
On the South Division, Atlanta and Austin remain undefeated. San Diego would be 5-0 if they had gotten that win against Atlanta. That game a couple weeks ago, that Dean Ramsey won at the buzzer for the hustle. The Carolina Flyers, Mike DiNardo steps aside. This is a franchise that had never missed the playoffs since they started in 2015, and they're 0-4.
That's a tough place to be. We've always known Carolina have this pipeline of youth talent, and they still, in addition to that, have Alan Laviolette, who had a great night, but unfortunately it wasn't enough. They're going to have to find ways of building, and it's tough when you want to be development-oriented. At the beginning of the season, going 0-4, you're going to put yourself in a huge hole. It's going to be tough to make the playoffs. So
those were some exhilarating games that we watched earlier tonight from the broadcast booth on WatchUFA.tv. And this evening, 2 more games on the agenda. Oregon is at Vegas. That's live on WatchUFA.tv in about 15 minutes. And our featured game, Friday Night Frisbee here at Zions Bank Stadium. It is less windy than it was at championship weekend, and it is just as beautiful. You forget how just majestically magical it is to come to Utah. And these are 2 teams looking for their second win of the year, but different vibes for these 2 teams coming into tonight. It's getting late early for the Cascades as they play the Shred tonight and the Spiders tomorrow. You feel like Seattle needs at least 1 win on this road trip to give themselves a reasonable chance at the midway point of their season.
And it's an extremely tough road trip to be in this position. They dropped a close one last week to the Oregon Steel in overtime, and that's just one of those games that you really want back. It's a tough year. You made championship weekend. You looked like you were reaching your potential and peaking at the right time, and then you lose contributors that really helped get you there, and you're stuck trying to figure it out. There's a lot of frustration. There's a lot of things to work on. Tonight's going to be key for their end zone offense. We'll talk about that more later. And then for the Shred, had a good first start, right, against Atlanta. Almost coming out with a win on the road would have been huge. They look good. They're going to have to do a little bit more tonight with some new players in the D-line. A lot of young guys who don't have very much experience, and we're going to have to step up and play a big role.
And also with no Will Selfridge on offense tonight, it's going to have to be the Jorgensen show. I mean, McKay Jorgensen has played O-line in the past, but Chad moving on to the offense this year, against Atlanta especially, those 2 guys just carry a lot of gravity and a lot of responsibility for Bryce Merrill's offense.
And you said it right, gravity and responsibility, because there's the old saying that D-line wins games and O-line loses games. There's a lot of pressure moving over from the D-line to the O-line, but Jorgensen has just taken it so well, especially with the start against Atlanta. 28 completions, 100%, over 500 yards of offense generated against one of the top teams in the league. We hope to see him continue this trend tonight.
Bryce Merrill has talked about, he thought Chad Jorgensen just had a D-line mentality. He moved him on the offense, not expecting the completion percentage that he's getting. His completion percentage right around 97, 98%. I think Bryce Merrill was ready to accept 92, 93%, thinking Chad, as a defensive spark, could help them get the disc back after a turn. But so far, so good. Almost every decision has been the right one through 2 games.
Now, it's great that he's gotten off to this fast start. And at the same time, now that everybody sees his success, you got to wonder, do the game plans start to slow him down? Is he going to face that tougher matchup than he would have gotten running the D-line to be able to continue that success moving forward? Time will only tell, but it's awesome when you see that move. You take that option to move somebody from the D-line to O-line, and it works out in your favor, and it gives that young man a lot of confidence.
We are counting you down to the top of the hour. Opening pull for the Shred and the Cascades. Just over 10 minutes away here on the Pabst Light pregame show. Week 5 in the Ultimate Frisbee Association. And the last time Seattle came to Utah was for championship weekend. The time before that was for the West Division championship game. And very few expected the Cascades to win that night. I don't think very many expect Seattle to win tonight either. But this is a Cascades team that I think late last year showed a ton of heart. And they've got guys that have played a lot of big moments in this league. Jack Brown, Mark Munoz, Zeppelin Rowning, Garrett Martin. I mean, guys that are still young and rising into their primes, but guys that you trust in big moments, and the Cascades are going to really counting on those type of guys tonight.
I think Garrett Martin is like the perfect example of the UFA workhorse that you want on your O-line. You want at least one of those guys that can just never stop running. He just has that motor, keeps working through it, keeps the team alive. He did so last weekend. He was able to keep the team alive going into overtime. And Seattle had this great scrappy identity that really let them hold through in these big moments. And even though they didn't make it through championship weekend to the final, they had themselves an opportunity to do so with getting great performances of people you mentioned. Lucas Ambrose, we'll talk about more later. This is a team, right, that can change the fate of their season by getting a huge win on the road and getting that confidence to move forward. That's what we need to do.
And even in the West Division final last year, it looked like Salt Lake was in control, as we saw in the highlights, a 13-10 lead early in that third quarter. But, man, Seattle roared back. And we're in an interesting spot right now in the Ultimate Frisbee Association as we jump back into this highlight reel. It was 2020, and Seattle got the go-ahead goal with just about 30 seconds to go. Salt Lake looking to respond. Sean Cannell, now a member of the Atlanta Hustle, finding Will Selfridge shy of the goal line. And when Will lines this up, it could be a game-tying throw to send it to overtime, but did not release it the way he wanted to. And as I said at the time, disbelief everywhere. You look at the Salt Lake demoralized players in the end zone and the Seattle Cascades partying. Look at Khalif El-Salam. I mean, he had a heck of a night for the San Diego Growlers tonight. His new team down in Carolina. He'll head to Atlanta tomorrow. The Growlers are going to be one of the stories in the league this weekend for sure. But those were the numbers the last time the Cascades and the Shred squared off. It was a crazy comeback, and Seattle shocked the UFA.
Salt Lake is a young franchise, and they've had immediate success on the stage where all of a sudden you've seen them make championship weekends, get to the final even, and it feels like there was a moment where they arrived and they were supposed to contend. And then we see the step back. And so for Salt Lake and this young team still, right, they have a lot of UFA experience that they're forming, but getting over the hump consistently and going through those trials and tribulations is really tough. And so this is a game where you expect them, if you're playing well, even with people you're missing on the D-line, come away with victory, assert yourself as one of the dominant teams in the division. That's going to be key for them.
One thing that I may mention later, that there's never been a year in the UFA where no one from the previous year's championship weekend made it back. I mean, dating back to the first ever official championship weekend in 2013, there's been at least one, usually 2 or 3 teams carried over. But you look at the division leaders right now, the Atlanta Hustle, the Boston Glory, the Chicago Union, the Oakland Spiders, 1 through 4 in the power rankings. It feels more likely than not right now. And again, who knows, because there's so many twists and turns coming up down the pike. Philadelphia suffering their first loss of the season tonight. As you said, New York perhaps saving their season. Carolina likely to drop out of the top 12 after they lose at home to San Diego. But what a wild era it is right now in the UFA. Every game feels so important, including tonight, because it's going to change the trajectory potentially for both these teams' seasons here.
Yeah, you can't just afford to develop like you can in other versions of the sport. You have to win now. You have to go out and find ways to do that and develop your depth as best as possible. And that's just what's tough about coaching in this league. How do you decide how tight to run to win the game in a given moment? How long of a leash do you give certain players, right? And we talked about maybe the leash that Bryce Merrill might be giving to Chad Jorgensen, expecting that maybe it wouldn't be the 98% completion percentage, but more of a 92, 93, and letting him develop that throughout the season. And if you're in position for a playoff spot, you can afford to do that. And you need to do that. You need to figure out what pieces can do what, have a little bit of room to continue to develop that.
All right, we're getting ready for the opening poll. That'll do it for the Pabst Light pregame show. We'll take a short break and share with you some of Jordan Kerr's thoughts on his time with the Shred and tonight's game as we get you ready for the opening poll between the Cascades and the Shred here on Friday Night Frisbee.
And adapt and kind of morph each year. We've obviously talked a lot about how we have a lot of new guys, a lot of rookies, and I think a lot of them have played a lot together in the past, and I think that's been really, really good for our chemistry. Playing Seattle Cascades tonight, I think the matchups are going to be pretty tight. I'm super excited, honestly, to see what it looks like for our defense. I think we've got a good defensive lineup, and obviously they have a great offensive lineup, and I'm really excited to see kind of how our rookies do against some of their veterans. Obviously, since Seattle was very good last year, they're always going to be a contender, and I've got a lot of confidence in our team, and I think we're going to play well. We've game planned really well, and we've prepared. But yeah, definitely, I think there's going to be pressure, but honestly, I like it, and I like playing with pressure, and I think it's fun, raises the stakes, and it makes the crowd go crazy, and I love that. So I'm really excited. Yeah.
On the green stage, huge bid, gets the touch. It's a great opportunity for the Germans, and they break with ease. Throw it the full 80 yards to the field. Are you kidding me? And an incredible catch. You are kidding me? Oh my God!
Throw like a pro with a new Pro Ultimate Frisbee. Created with input from the sport's premier passers, the Pro Frisbee is specially designed to fly through the wind and maintain its edge. Experience the official Frisbee of the UFA and get yours at shopufa.com today.
Last August, the Salt Lake Shred were the heavy favorite to advance out of the West Division and earn the rare chance to compete in championship weekend on their home field. But the Seattle Cascades would not cooperate with a pre-established narrative. And through ferocious determination and brilliant playmaking, the Cascades conquered the Shred in a stunning postseason thriller. Tonight, Seattle and Salt Lake meet again in a pivotal Week 5 showdown. And it's all coming up here on Friday Night Frisbee. Next.
From Zions Bank Stadium in Salt Lake City, Utah, we welcome you to Friday Night Frisbee. The Seattle Cascades trying to replicate what they did last year in the playoffs here against the Salt Lake Shred. Two teams looking for their second win of the year, but Salt Lake enters at 1-1. The Cascades desperate for a win at 1-3. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Free Friday Frisbee. I'm Evan Lepler alongside the former UFA Coach of the Year, Bryan Jones. And Brian, it's getting late early for the Seattle Cascades. They play Oakland tomorrow. The Spiders haven't lost yet. They've already beaten Seattle twice. So it's urgent for Seattle this evening here in Salt Lake.
Yeah, you hesitate to throw out the term must win for an early season game, but it really is. They've got to pick up one of these victories on the road this weekend, or else it's going to be really tough for them to make the playoffs.
Well, this Seattle team has a bunch of talented players, but Lucas Ambrose has been kind of the heartbeat since he came over from Los Angeles. He's led the league in blocks each of the past 2 years, Defensive Player of the Year, runner-up for MVP, and he's a guy that they really want to get going. It's funny because he's got 8 blocks in 4 games. He's actually leading the league entering the weekend, but it doesn't feel like he's been as dominant as he was down the stretch last year for Seattle.
He's just a huge piece for what they do. He's an incredible defensive playmaker. You don't see a lot of those in the league. He can do it against the best matchups. And he's turning some of these players into matchups where the offense has to say, where is he on the field? I don't want to throw to his guy, especially in a late stall situation. He comes up with some huge blocks.
He's had a fantastic start to his career. 1 season with Los Angeles, helped get the Aviators to the West Division title game, and then led Seattle all the way to the semifinals. There's Zeppelin Raunig. He scored 10 goals in Seattle's season opener. Looking forward to see what he can do tonight against this very young Salt Lake D-line. There are 9 guys in the Salt Lake 20 tonight that are playing either their first, their second, or their third game in the UFA. Most of them are the D-line, and Raunig is a very dangerous offensive guy to try to stop.
Great playmaker, and you like to see that completion percentage in the mid-90s. He's just been developing. He's been a name for a long time, coming out of that Seattle youth pipeline, and he's arrived in this league. Makes plays downfield, becomes that scoring threat that you need, and it's just been shaping out his all-around game.
And we talk about the players Salt Lake is missing on the offensive line. They're mostly intact. They don't have Will Selfridge. He's with the University of Utah at College Nationals north of Seattle and Burlington, but there's still plenty of firepower for Salt Lake's offense. Chad Jorgensen, McKay Jorgensen, and the old mainstay in Jordan Kerr, who has just been a phenomenal player throughout his career, and you figure is going to have an even bigger role tonight.
Yeah, they call him the old mainstay. Just a few years ago, he was the new young kid on the scene, coming out with MVP numbers, and just continues to be productive. The lefty, so hard to guard. You have to figure out how you're going to mark him up because he can break the mark, especially to the around space with those easy around flicks. Just incredibly balanced. The throwing yards and the receiving yards close together as a threat as a receiver and a threat as a thrower, helping Salt Lake move the ball down the field.
Well, Salt Lake lost their season opener in Atlanta. Really close competitive game. A loss where they, I think, earned a lot of respect even in defeat. And then they bounced back to take down the Vegas Bighorns by 10 in their second game of the season. That was 20 days ago. And today Salt Lake retakes the field, jumping into the heart of their season. Shred's next 2 games, both against the Cascades. They'll play in Seattle next Friday, at Oakland next Saturday. So things in the West heating up. You got Oregon and Vegas on watchufa.tv as we speak. Opening poll tonight here at Zions Bank Stadium is presented by Pabst Light. America's quality light beer. The Shred Heads are packing the stands. And Salt Lake has a new mascot tonight, the Shred Head. And he's literally got a cheese shredder on his head, and I'm sure you'll see him at some point. Kyle Weinberg, the leader of this D-line, launches the opening pull, and we are underway on this Friday evening from Salt Lake City, Utah. Aaron Wolf, one of the runners-up for Rookie of the Year last year, the young star from Germany, catches the pull and then catches the third completion and then keeps it moving forward to Connor Belfield. UFA rookie this year, but a talented player in the Seattle area for many years. Brian, this Salt Lake D-line is missing a ton of firepower, but we know that this Shred squad has a lot of young athletes. As the deep shot looking for Raunig, and he beats the defender Derek Knighton, making his UFA debut. Welcome to the league. Welcome to Zeppelin Raunig's show. 1-0 Seattle.
Just gets him on the deep fake, or excuse me, the under fake to the deep cut. And this is easy as it gets for Raunig. He does a great job against more experienced defenders, but you got to know that's the game plan. Take away the deep option, make Seattle work, and instead they get an easy one.
It's perfect put from Christian Foster. Foster led the Cascades a year ago with 15 Huck completions. That's his 10th completed Huck already this season without a miss. He's 10 for 10 to start his 2025 campaign, the veteran handler from Massachusetts.
He's always been a great thrower, a great puller, as he's world famous for, and what they desperately need in that offense to replace some of the absences they have from the previous season.
Ian Sweeney launches the pull. Braden Eberhard gets it to the middle of the field for McKay Jorgensen, finding his older brother Chad. Had Rusnagel going deep, but he holsters. Up the line, back to McKay. Dunabile was going long, and once again the Shred hold it on, but now the deep shot finding it's Eberhard in the end zone with a perfect strike and the early equalizer, 1-1.
Great opening possession for Salt Lake. The ability to just work it down the same side of the field. They never one time had to move it to the opposite side of the field. Seattle could not stop their flow. Great use of the flat side or break side, and culminating in this easy flick shot down the line. Not sure if there was confusion on the marks from Seattle or what, but that's as easy as it's going to get in the UFA.
9th assist of the year for Chad Jorgensen, and Braden Eberhard scores his 4th goal. After the Atlanta game, Brian, Jordan Kerr talked to me about how Braden Eberhard was the unsung hero for the Salt Lake offense. Couple seasons removed from an ACL injury, did not play at all last year, putting in a big role as that pull sails out the back. So Seattle will have about a 40-yard difference as they trot it from the back line of the end zone to outside the scoring area. Curious to see if Seattle's offense can find a rhythm and a momentum and a consistency, because that's something their coach Kelly Johnson has talked about. They've had plenty of good moments, but at 1-3 with an overtime loss to Oregon last week, they just weren't good enough doing the little things. Derek Morad gets it back to Aaron Wolf. Caden Froebe on the mark, and the Huck goes for Raunig. He's outrunning his defender, Cole Stenseth, and Raunig with his second deep catch of the quarter. 2-0 or 2-1 for Seattle, and the dancing continues for Raunig.
The type of move that drives coaches nuts is when you know that you're facing an athlete that's good at getting the deep shots, and you let him go deep. And that's 2 defenders so far, 0 for 2, preventing Raunig from doing what he does best. He just takes them deep. In rhythm here, a flick out to space. And for the UFA, I mean, if that's going to happen all the time, Seattle's going to take that, and they're not going to be flustered.
2 goals, 90 receiving yards already for the 22-year-old Zeppelin Ronig. He scored 7 goals in his UFA debut back in 22. Career high 10 goals in the season opener this year in the 1-goal loss to Oakland. Ooh, a poach block opportunity for Seattle. Intercepted by Emmett Shipway. First turnover, first break chance. Shipway, who picked off the pass, possesses in the red zone, looks for Lucas Ambrose. Shy of the goal line, Tommy Lynn. Cross field, wide open target. Seattle breaks. Ryan Liao with his first career UFA goal. Made his debut last week at Oregon. And it's 3-1 Cascades.
In an opportunity like this, and you have to convert if you're Seattle, and they do. They get the nice poach block. They're able to read the play. Disc moves around, and just staying patient. This is a key area for Seattle moving forward, converting these possessions in the red zone, and they do so to get the opening break. This is kind of just what they needed to get going.
Yeah, I had a sense coming into this game, Brian, that if Seattle starts poorly, you could see some bad body language. Like, things are not all hunky-dory in Cascade country right now, but getting off to a good start, a reinvigorating experience, and also it's going to be interesting to see how this young Salt Lake team that's missing several key players tonight, how they handle it. Eberhard faces the double team, squeezes it through. McKay to Chad. Jordan Kerr still hasn't touched the disc. Jack Brown's on him defensively. And a little miscommunication, but Kerr able to catch the floaty swing to space. Jacob Miller downfield for McKay. And it's the brotherly connection, but it's dropped in the end zone. Aaron Wolf was right there. Chad can't make the play. And another opportunity for the Cascades. Just getting ready to talk about the Grossberg brotherly love connection earlier tonight. Adam Grossberg to Sam Grossberg for a remarkable highlight that you'll certainly see on the top 10 this week. Almost had the Jorgesens collaborating for a score. Unfortunately for Seattle, they cannot capitalize this time. And now Salt Lake in pursuit of the dirty hole to try to cut this 2-goal gap in half 4 minutes in. Miller resets Eberhard. Miller to Rustnagel, and Salt Lake converts.
Salt Lake just surviving. 2 mistakes. The first one is a poach block. The second one is a drop disc. And if you're Seattle, you had the opportunity to go up 4-2. You had the break chance, and it was given away on a poor throw from Ambrose. And we take a look at the drop. Aaron Wolf in the area, making it a little uncertain. And then this throw is just behind the receiver. Salt Lake able to convert and survive. It's so important when you're on the road. You want to take advantage of the opportunities that you get. And right now, both defensively and offensively, Salt Lake's out of sync. They're not looking great. They're giving up easy goals. We'll see if they made the adjustment here. Where for Seattle, this is kind of just what the doctor ordered when you're looking to get out of a little bit of a tough time. And not really a little bit, dropping 3 out of your first 4 games. But here's a good pull.
Seattle starting this possession in Callahan country. Tommy Lee, just shy of his own goal line, gets it out of trouble to Mark Munoz. Squeezing it up the line, and the deep shot looking for Tony Goss. Hanging up there. Goss wins the battle. He's not in. He was bumped, though. And that'll reset the stall count and allow Seattle to create some offensive cohesion here near the goal line. Is it going to be the 3rd goal for Raunig? Do we get a foul or a hand block? It's a foul.
This is an interesting double team. You usually see a double team where you're preventing either one direction, but here there's a sandwich, so to speak, and now they changing the angle again, trying to figure out how to be creative on defense and just make it a little bit more difficult, make it weird.
Connor Belfield flips it into the end zone, and Seattle does convert. Nice catch by Tony Goss against a couple of defenders there.
Huge catch. This does not look like a good decision whatsoever, but Tony Goss is giving up at least 6 inches, and it doesn't matter. Able to box out and win the physical battle. We always talk about there are players that are big that play a little bit maybe small, and there are players that are a little smaller in stature that play big, and that's a huge example there by Tony Goss, being fearless in the deep space.
Derek Morad catches the short little dish. That's his 7th goal of the season and his 5th game of the year for the Cascades. Wild night already in the Ultimate Frisbee Association. If you weren't with us for the pregame show, 2 road wins. San Diego in double OT dispatches Carolina by 1. And the Philadelphia Phoenix dealt their first loss of the season in a thrilling 1-goal game. Antoine Davis getting the block at the buzzer on a desperation game-tying attempt for the Phoenix. Evan Lepler Bryan Jones with you here from Zions Bank Stadium. The sun on its way down, and the majestic mountains are the setting for this Week 5 edition of Friday Night Frisbee. Brian, I wanted to ask you, you coached in this league, and we get a stall. A stall is called on McKay Jorgensen, and another break chance here for Seattle. And a huge hammer. Ian Sweeney rips it into the end zone. It's a score.
Taking matters in your own hands, going for the fast break. And I love fast breaks, but I certainly don't teach my players to take the hammer right away. But when it's this wide open, it doesn't matter. We get a little bit of a crab walk afterwards in celebration. Ian Sweeney, he's a huge player with a lot of length, standing around 6'3", 6'4", maybe taller, able to just get around the lefty, and there fires the hammer off of the stall. And there's a little bit of lack of recognition here and a lack of urgency from Salt Lake. Like I said, I think they're reeling right now.
I was waiting to see the official signal a score just because I thought maybe Sweeney picked it up so quickly. Could it be like one of those delay of games where the official hasn't signaled start of play? But no, that was a good goal. Ian Sweeney to Emmett Shipway. Brian, the question I was getting ready to ask you, when you were a coach, your team had 3 weeks off from the regular season. Did you worry about the rhythm at the start of the game? Because that's the case for the Shred tonight.
You always worry about that when you've been off for a while, and you do your best with competitive practices. And Coach Bryce Merrill is going to have his guys ready to go. But here right now, for whatever reason, Salt Lake is out of sync. I don't know if it's because they're missing Selfridge. Don't know if it's because they're missing some people on the D-line. It doesn't feel right. But in this first quarter, it's Seattle's game. Looks like there was a pick self-called.
So Salt Lake marches backwards. Fantastic start for the visiting Seattle Cascades, who lost their season opener at home to Oakland by 1. Then got blown out by a pretty sizable margin on Friday Night Frisbee a week later against that same Oakland squad. Got their first win at Vegas, but then stumbled in overtime, let a multi-goal lead slip away against Oregon. Chad Jorgensen versus Asher Lance, and it's Chad Jorgensen ripping it down for the Salt Lake score. A glimpse into what this guy can do. He can do it all.
Not just a throwing threat, not just a hooker, but an athlete on the field. And against Asher Lance, when this throwing up, it looked like Lance had the momentum, had the speed to catch up and make the play, but Jorgensen made the right moves at the right time to just box out and make the contested catch. Here comes Lance on the backside, and Jorgensen, that's the key there. That final little step gets in front, takes away Lance's line, and Lance has no other choice but to pull up. Otherwise, he would just train wreck through him.
You know, the eyebrows raised a little bit last year when Bryce Merrill said, quote, Chad is a standard deviation better than everyone else on our team. But he might be right. Because Chad Jorgensen continues to be a critically important playmaker in so many different ways. Offensively, defensively, throwing, receiving, orchestrating. Christian Foster, can he stay perfect with his hucks? Oh, yes, he can. Foster is 11 for 11 on his hucks to start the season. He's 2 for 2 tonight. And Tommy Lee makes it 6-3.
Beautiful. Beautiful huck. And at the same time, easy for Foster to hit. This is a golden opportunity that if he decided not to throw it, he'd be mad at himself. It's so wide open. So far in this first quarter, Salt Lake has done nothing to flummox the Seattle deep game. Nothing whatsoever. And I'm watching the matchups downfield, and I'm seeing them force out the Seattle receivers. And I'm wondering if that's the game plan. Trying to get a high volume of shots, get some turnovers. But so far, all that's done is that Seattle getting a groove. They are hitting it deep. And now Salt Lake has to find a way to adjust. They have to find a way to stop the deep threat but not give up a massive amount of unders. Whatever they're doing, though, Seattle is extremely comfortable working through it.
Bryce Merrill is going to have some decisions to make because the Shred defense is not creating a lot of pressure, and Mark Munoz and the Seattle defense, on the other hand, is taking control of the game. Dominic Jacobs in the end zone for another Cascades break.
It just keeps coming. It keeps coming. What a great play to get that layout grab by Munoz. And a fast break afterwards. Seattle is just blitzing through this game. Usually you want to save your timeouts. It's early here, still in the first quarter. But this might be timeout territory. What a read! And afterwards, before the game, Coach Kelly Johnson talked about the individual discipline you want in the end zone. And yes, you do, but at the same time, you have a fast break opportunity. Just go score the goal. Put it to Dom Jacobs. He's an athlete. He can go up and get it. And he does.
Mark Munoz has been called the heart and soul of the Cascades. He's the franchise leader in games played. He's just 25 years old, Brian, but he's in his 7th professional season. Mark Munoz says that Ultimate Frisbee is his safe space and his outlet. And, quote, the UFA will be in his heart forever, unquote. What a play. What a start for Seattle.
A little bit of a junky look with a deep. And now Asher Lance gets back, and they fall into a little bit of person. Still trying to gunk up the lanes. You can see here players just standing in the middle of the field. They don't want to let Salt Lake work it through. The Salt Lake team is so good at getting to the break side. They're so good at moving it around. And if you kind of take away that option to overload whichever side they're looking at, you're going to force them to play a little different brand of ultimate. And you can see here, there's no pressure on the disc, but at the same time, the Shred are not advancing very quickly at all. They're taking their time. It's always a tough call here. You have done a great job of playing person defense, getting blocks, and now you might be letting Salt Lake get a little comfortable. Right? They've been having a tough time. They get to play throw and catch for a little bit and settle into a rhythm.
On the verge of the red zone, it's Chad Jorgensen to his brother McKay, to Jacob Miller, to Jordan Kerr. Those guys are the bread and butter of the Salt Lake offense. And you're right, Brian, perhaps that possession of short throw and catch will help the Shred find a rhythm.
It's just a tough decision. It really is as a coach. What are you going to do? You've had success. You throw on maybe a secondary D-line. Let's go out there and throw a different look at changeup. But then all of the pressure melts away after a while. We saw the Shred take some time to work it through, and once they did, the last part of that possession was smooth. The smoothest one we've seen really so far.
There's the new mascot for the Salt Lake Shred. What do you think, Brian Jones?
Give me a big block of cheese, Evan.
It's Big Block of Cheese Day here in Salt Lake. Now, Can the Shred D-line create some pressure? Because so far, the answer has been no. Seattle has not turned the disc over on offense yet. Cascades have just one turn. Their D-line gave it back one time in their 4 break tries. There's a bump on the mark. Connor Belfield, 29-year-old out of Bowdoin College. Member of the 2025 USA Mixed Beach National Team that's headed to Europe this fall. Portugal, right? Brian nods his head. He's the coach of the Open team.
Connor Belfield and others had a great tryout. He's such a speedy player.
Oh, that's a nifty throw with a high stall count to find the space where Foster could get there. We got contact downfield, and it's against Salt Lake, so Belfield gets a free 10 and a fresh stall count. Clock continues to tick.
Another foul. I like this possession here defensively for the Shred, but the physicality is increasing and they're getting Seattle's getting free yardage out of it. It's just better than it was, not allowing the deep shot early.
Former member of the Shred, Garrett Martin, Utah native. Always meaningful for him to come back to Zions Bank Stadium. You can see Salt Lake trying to get a little more physical, trying to let the Cascades know that they're going to make things more difficult. But Christian Foster, he's not shy of any physicality. I mean, he's ready to go. 15 seconds left in the quarter and an 8-4 lead for Seattle as Brandon Lee gets in the end zone for the Cascades.
Taking a couple minutes for Seattle to score. It's a step in the right direction. It's an improvement. It's a better defensive effort. You can see the physicality. Seattle's able to work their way through it. A couple of foul calls. They get some free yards out of it. But you're just looking to see that effort. You're looking to see that matchups be a little bit tighter, get closer to putting that pressure on. They had a couple situations where Seattle had to throw themselves out of a tough one. It's getting better. Oftentimes when you're this flummoxed, it can take anywhere between 2 or 3 points to get the defense back in the right spot.
First goal of the season for Brandon Lee. Lucas Ambrose pulls. 15 seconds for Salt Lake once it's touched. Shred will receive to start the second quarter, but a 4-goal gap they're facing right now. And an early huck. Kerr and Dunabile, first rounding in Ambrose, and Seattle's duo wins the jump ball, and the Cascades win the first quarter. They double up Salt Lake 8-4 in the opening 12 minutes.
I like the decision here to throw it early. You have, instead of having 4 people down there and a mess of players, you have an opportunity with one of your best receivers in Kerr, and just great position by Ambrose and Ronig. Seattle walks away up 4. Great defensive start. Great red zone play. They lead 8-4 here at the end of the first quarter.
On the green, huge bid, gets the time. Great opportunity for the Germans, and they break with ease. Throw it the full 80 yards to the field. Are you kidding me? And an incredible catch. Are you kidding me? Oh my God!
Throw like a pro with a new Pro Ultimate Frisbee. Created with input from the sport's premier passers, the Pro Frisbee is specially designed to fly through the wind and maintain its edge. Experience the official Frisbee of the UFA and get yours at shopufa.com today.
Frisbee Association is presented by Pabst Light, America's quality light beer. UFA is also proud partners with Victory Insoles, engineered for peak performance, energy, and recovery. By True Leaf, dedicated to enhancing lives through cannabis. And by Two Town Cider House, high quality ingredients, no shortcuts, bringing hard cider back to the people. Second quarter action underway. Bryan Jones, how surprised are you by what we have witnessed?
On the one hand, I'm extremely surprised that we've seen this offensive showcase from Salt Lake. I did not expect them to be down 4. On the other hand, you know, we thought we'd see some defensive struggles, so that's not surprising. But the game plan did feel surprising. Why let them go deep? Why let Seattle get these quick, easy scores? And we'll see if they adjust here in the second quarter.
Yeah, a couple deep hucks to Zeppelin Rowning in the opening 2 minutes of the game really set the tone for Seattle. They got rolling. Only one turn in the first quarter for the Cascades. Chad Jorgensen has been the bright spot for Salt Lake as Jace Dunabile makes the tumbling catch and now resets back to Chad. Russ Noggle has Kerr continuing, but he stopped cutting. And it's an easy block for Lucas Ambrose in the end zone.
I wonder if he stopped running because Ambrose was the one covering him. But that miscommunication is emblematic of what we've seen so far all night from the Shred. Ambrose left wide open for a second, but a switch recovers.
Get a Seattle timeout call. Just over 90 seconds gone here in the second quarter. Now, we didn't have a chance to do our keys to the game, so let's do our victory keys to the game right now with Seattle up 8-4. And, Brian, you can talk about what we were thinking coming into the game and what we've seen so far.
Individual discipline, we've talked about it in the red zone specifically. There have been fast breaks, which have been good. There have been some patient possessions, which have been good so far. That was the key to their losses, is the red zone efficiency wasn't quite there. Now the next thing, frustration as fuel. It's a different year. Last year was a peak season for Seattle. Now you have to use that frustration and turn it into something productive. You have to find a way to turn your season around. So far, a great start for Salt Lake. Using the Jorgensens, we knew that was going to happen. And so far, they've been pretty good. They made some plays, but it's been the rest of the O-line that has not been dependable.
Wolf misfires, looking for Ronnig on the first throw. Downfield after the timeout. Kyle Weinberg picks up, gets it to the middle for Derek Knighton. His first throw in the UFA is a completion for Alex Forsberg. Forsberg dishes back for Tony Mounga. It's Mounga and Weinberg who are the veterans on this D-line, playing with a ton of young guys. Sam Pugh, 20 years old, out of Lone Peak High School. Just started his time at Utah Valley. Back in the middle of the field for Mounga. Looking into the end zone. It's a prayer, and it's caught. A leaping snag for a score. Caden Froebe with just his second goal in the UFA, making it a memorable one, going up high.
This nudist just carries. I wasn't sure if that was for Oibi, if it was intended for him to go catch it, but nonetheless, he's the one who ends up with it. We see the first turnover Kerr slows up and Ambrose zooms past him. And after the timeout, a first throw turnover, not what you want to see. And this young D-line getting a little bit lucky.
Yeah, that was certainly not intended for Froebe. It was the 6'4" Alex Forsberg that was the target. But Froebe at 5'9" had the hops. 21-year-old who just started playing Frisbee last September at BYU. His athleticism immediately put him on the BYU O-line, and he's making an impact for the Salt Lake Shred. Now, that feels a little bit like a break, but it was just a hold.
Just a hold, but nonetheless, you made Seattle's O-line have to work a little bit more. They didn't convert. You had a great start, and now you feel like you're getting some positive momentum on your side. Wanted a pick, but it wasn't there with Wolf coming through the crowded space in the field.
They do call a foul on the mark with Belfield in possession. Morad to Munoz. LaRue, a little casual bump on the mark. Munoz sheds it, finds Brandon Lee downfield, looking for Martin in the end zone. It's a beautiful put. Brandon Lee puts it in the perfect spot for Garrett Martin.
Seattle gets back on track.
Brandon Lee, his third year with the Cascades. Originally from Atlanta, played college ultimate at the University of Georgia. Having a nice start to the night with a goal and an assist. And the Cascades stay perfect on offense. It's a slightly misleading stat because the O-line came in after the timeout call. But the stats say they have not been broken yet.
Well, the stats lie a little bit, Evan.
They
always do. You can always find a way to talk about them. And you said earlier, the Jorgensen's was a standard deviation above everybody else. I mean, I don't need a calculator to go out and show me who's playing well right now. But that feels like a break. When you have that timeout, it's so precious to you to put your O-line out in the field, and they don't get the job done on the first throw. That's a tough position to be in.
Kerr mishandles that pull receive just slightly. Chad Jorgensen not waiting around. Langley Fitzpatrick giving chase from behind, and he gets a piece of it on the deep shot intended for Dunabile. This young 20-year-old out of Ingram High School in Seattle is making an impact with his fifth block in just his second UFA game.
Great catch-up speed, getting his hand in there, and there was contact, but I didn't see a clear foul from this vantage point.
Oh, and a bobble and a drop. Tommy Lynn gives it back. Good field position for McKay Jorgensen up the line. Jordan Kerr, quick release flick into the end zone. And an angry spike from Dunabile right in the defender's direction.
Things getting a little heated out here on the Friday night. Don't let the mountains fool you. Don't let the beautiful scenery. We've got a competitive Frisbee game.
Well, I imagine this is the first time most people are seeing Langley Fitzpatrick. He made his UFA debut last week in the Oregon game, got 4 blocks. He only played 9 points. But he's been playing Ultimate since he was in 4th grade. As a lot of young kids in Seattle do, they find the sport. Kelly Johnson, the coach of the Cascades, told me after the game, there's a lot of angry, salty guys in that post-game huddle, in that circle. Dunabile still frustrated and get the call. And look, they lose by 1. It's a game they expect to win against the Steel. Langley Fitzpatrick, the 20-year-old who just made his debut, interjects in the huddle, says, I understand everybody's frustrated, but this is the best day of my life. Chatted with Langley for a few minutes before the game. Very nice young man. Played high school football at Ingram High School as the big bid comes up empty.
Tell you what, this D-line showing signs of life. The bid may have been nowhere close, but trying to make some stuff happen. And Tony Mwanga earlier on the mark, he was going nuts. Just moving back and forth, changing the angles, covering a bunch of different places.
Look at Bryce Merrill being active on the sidelines, trying to get his defense into a mood. There's a deep shot. Belfield looking for Tommy Lee. He's got him. Seattle's a perfect 6 for 6 on their hucks.
Sometimes it's pretty simple. The other team's hucking it well, and you got to find a way to stop it. And the energy is there for Salt Lake, but not enough. Tony Mwanga gets lost in the sea, the mess of players, and this is just as easy as it gets. We've seen this so far 4 times. Wide open hucks, easily available for the Cascades.
So what's the adjustment that Salt Lake needs to make defensively?
Sometimes it's as simple as literally stand behind them, right? And this is why what happens is a team comes out, they huck the disc really well, you overcorrect, you try to stand behind them, you give them the unders, and they start easily chipping away even more and being really comfortable. And so far what you can see, I think Bryce Merrill's doing is he's pushing the button of energy. Bring energy. Being demonstrative on the sidelines, trying to find ways to motivate his young players. Because really, if you can get one and you can get going.
Oh, my. Jordan Kerr's reset hammer through the double team blades its way into the ground. Ian Sweeney quickly to Aaron Wolf in the end zone. Another Cascades break.
Just unforced errors. Unforced. And Jordan Kerr's been an MVP candidate.
You don't say that's a forced error because of the double team?
Wide open throw. This is a hammer that he should hit every single time, even with a double team. Yeah, maybe it's a little rushed. Yes, you're going to force them to make tough throws, but we've known Kerr to be able to hit those.
Aaron Wolf told me that he plans to have a different color hairdo for every game this year. Tonight, it's half pink, half rainbow. He says stay on the lookout for his new hair color tomorrow in Oakland. (11-6) Seattle. They jumped out 3-1. They have not trailed yet. Only tie was 1-1. Bryce Merrill does not have a ton of options tonight. Langley Fitzpatrick did it again.
Second block of the game.
His 6th in his young UFA career. Munoz cross field. That's a dime. And it's a sliding scoring catch. And Seattle is on a roll right now here in Salt Lake City.
I know you don't normally want to you want to normally save your timeouts to get players on the field, but right now, Salt Lake is reeling. Throwing into blocks, missing open opportunities, and Seattle's playing with confidence. I would take a timeout. I would rally everybody of what needs to happen here because there's just not contesting the deep shots on a turn. They're not contesting the fast break. Turnovers are happening, and Seattle is scoring immediately.
Well, Bryce Merrill choosing not to take a timeout, but he is taking the O-line off the field. Seattle has scored the last 3 goals to transform this from a 9-6 game to a 12-6 game. Back-to-back breaks. Kerr's poor hammer into the ground, and then the Fitzpatrick block. So now this is the shred D-line that takes the field, and for a lot of these guys, it's their first ever O-point in the league.
Like you said, not a lot of options.
And that's a bad reset throw, but Tony Mounga does get the foul call against Seattle's Mikey O'Brien.
When you don't have a lot of options and you get yourself into a hole, you expect your O-line here to come out and just do business and keep your team in the game.
Brian, on the sideline right now, Bryce Merrill's not even watching this offensive point. He's talking to his O-line right in front of the bench. You can see it over there, the huddle happening as the play passes him by. What do you think he's saying?
I think he's walking through how things have to be simpler in these moments. There's not one adjustment you have to make.
Well, their D-line made it look pretty simple on offense. Mounga to Sam Pugh. First UFA goal for 20-year-old Sam Pugh. And that gets the Shred back within 5. Not a phrase I expected to say tonight. Gets the Shred back within 5.
Huge, though. In this moment when you have to turn towards a young, inexperienced line, this can be a way to build that confidence. But in this situation, all of Salt Lake is in a hole together. They got to dig out and find a way to climb up the walls together. And that's what's hard in these moments, because focusing on your offense when you're in a funk, it can be sometimes detrimental to continue to do that, go down that hole. Focusing on your defense and your effort and energy on a turn, talking about some simple things you need to do, there's not one reason right now it's not functioning. But the response can be better.
Travel is called on Aaron Wolf. The pole rolled out of bounds, and he set his pivot foot about a yard from the sideline, so he's going to have to get the disc back and retreat 10 yards, and who knows, maybe Salt Lake's defense can create their first block of the game. Sideline for Seattle was calling for a foul, and they certainly had a case. Frisbee landing in the back of the Seattle handler. Belfield brings it back. Morag keeps it moving to Wolf.
This is one of the first possessions we've seen Seattle have to really work it.
And there's the first break opportunity for the Salt Lake Shred of the night as the pass sails over Garrett Martin's outstretched reach. Up the line, McKay Jorgensen trying to contribute to the D-line. Cole Stenseth right back to McKay. And Jorgensen dishes into the end zone. And Salt Lake with back-to-back goals for the first time tonight. Ethan Wimmer with his second career score.
Nothing like a break to wake up the crowd, get back on your side. They needed this, they needed it badly, and they got the pressure, not letting Seattle hop, having to work it, and the long swing is overthrown from Wolf to Martin. And after that, some nice break throws to bring it within 4.
27-year-old Ethan Wimmer made his UFA debut a few weeks ago against Vegas.
All right, keep up that energy, people.
Seattle with a timeout. After all of this time,
Timeout was called. Let's keep that energy.
I would have thought that we'd see Salt Lake call the one between the points.
You know what, Cascades might have not had the right personnel on the line.
It can be tough. Breaks can come quickly, and in multiples, you don't have much time between points to figure out adjustments. But now you get a timeout, and you give Salt Lake some more time to talk. If I'm them, if I can get this within 3, I'm going to feel pretty good going into halftime. With how badly we've played, only down by 3 would be great.
I'm in the mood for some grated cheese. I don't know about you.
You want some brie? You want some Vermont sharp cheddar?
That would be tasty.
You're a New England guy.
That 1 for 8 breaks is a little misleading. That's the defensive opportunities, not the number of times they got the disc. So the D-line conversion rate for the Shred is 1 for 1. Whereas Seattle, 5 breaks and 8 attempts. Cascades still with only 4 turnovers. They scored 12 goals. Their lead was as wide as 6. And now Christian Foster sending Lucas Ambrose. Tony Mounga giving chase, but it's breakaway speed from Lucas Ambrose. And another majestic shot from Christian Foster. How about that to swing the momentum back your way?
You said it earlier. He only threw, 15 hucks last year? And we're seeing this is his 3rd today. Easy money.
12th of the season in his 5th game. He's 12 for 12.
Again, this is just one of those hucks where if you don't put it, you're going to be questioning yourself and your sanity.
I'll tell you, Brian, there was a split second there that I thought Tony Mounga might have the speed to stay with Ambrose and make that a play, and I quickly realized that was a foolish thought because Foster put it deep enough out that it was just Lucas's disc the whole way, and Mounga never gained ground.
It's hard to gain ground. Ambrose is one of the fastest players in the league, usually doing it on the defensive side, but makes him an incredible deep threat. And that timeout worked out for the Cascades.
Seattle 7 for 7 on Hucks. Salt Lake just 2 for 4. You can just feel the weight that is on the shoulders of McKay and Chad Jorgensen to try to keep things moving for this O-line. That's a floater, and it's deflected out of bounds by Mark Munoz. Throwing his body to get the block. And an answer. What a play for Salt Lake. Caden Froebe making an impact defensively for the Shred O-line when they really needed it.
Continuation.
I remember that moment. Chance for the Cascades to go back up by 6 after the Munoz block. Eberhard floats it. And it fades out of bounds. Fitzpatrick was chasing Miller from behind. Second break chance of the point for Seattle as we tick toward 2 minutes to play in the half. Fitzpatrick over to Sweeney. And here's Jack Brown, guy that's played a lot of offense in his Cascades career. And now he's using the integrity rule to overturn the foul call. So no foul, says Jack Brown. Minute 40 and the clock ticking here in the second quarter. And Brown slithers it deep, but he put too much on it, looking for Mark Munoz. He had him open.
Munoz playing both ways for the O-line here and for the defensive line. And timeout for Salt Lake.
Yeah, this will be the third hold opportunity of the point for the Shred, and you can see the fatigue from the Salt Lake O-line, and that's as much a credit to Seattle for making the Shred work as hard as they are. Check out this play by Munoz.
Where's that mascot?
Flying through the air, making sure the block stands, and then
Froebe.
There he is.
Sweeney wanted the call, but that looked pretty good to me. And with this new disc, it doesn't stay in. You got to wonder, in previous iterations, are the throwers attuned yet to what's going on, the behavior of the new one?
13-8, Seattle leads. Official stadium clock says a minute 20. It was a timeout from Salt Lake. Their first timeout. I think they still have one more to use if they want it. They haven't had but one break opportunity to call, get the O-line on the field. So this is a bunch of guys on the Salt Lake D-line. It's Mahonga looking long, testing Jack Brown. Brown makes up the ground. Rips it away from the intended target, Alex Forsberg.
Sam Pugh on the mark.
This would be a break for Seattle, and it would be a backbreaker for the Shred heading toward the half. Sweeney for Ambrose. Ambrose finds Wolf in the middle of the field. Weinberg on the mark. 35 seconds in the half. Asher Lance thought about the backhand to Ambrose toward the end zone. Instead, it swings back around. Seattle taking its time. Lance going deep. Sweeney looks the other direction and then slithers it through up the field to Lynn. 14 seconds for Wolf. It's just out of his reach, and he can't make the grab in the second effort. Clock is ticking. Weinberg with 5.
5 seconds.
Floats it forward at the buzzer. Sam Pugh to the end zone at the half. It's a Salt Lake score! Chad Jorgensen holds it up for everyone to see. Ambrose mistimed the jump, and the Shred get one back at the buzzer.
Just what they needed. What a mistake on the one end. Aaron Wolf can't come up with it. And it looked like Seattle was going to take an even bigger lead into halftime. And they had this opportunity just too far. And this keeps carrying and carrying. And like you said, Ambrose comes in. And I think he was trying to get up anyway. There was no real chance to get there, but Jorgensen had perfect position. And not quite the jump ball that you expected in the half, but more like a perfect pass. Send them into halftime, cut the lead to 4.
How about that for Sam Pugh? I believe that's his first ever UFA assist. And it comes at the buzzer in dramatic fashion. Seattle still deserves to feel pretty good about themselves, Brian. They're up 13-9. They won the first quarter 8-4, and then both teams scored 5 times in the second period. But the Cascades had an opportunity to go up by 6, and instead 10 seconds, 80-plus yards the other way. And it's the Shred back within 4 at 13-9 here on Friday Night Frisbee. What a half. Plenty of excitement. The Cascades finished the first half 7 for 7 on their hucks. Only 7 total turnovers, but that 1.5 will be looked back as a big one. So 2 quarters down, 2 still to play. We're going to toss it down to the third member of our broadcast crew, Grace Bulow. And she had Kelly Johnson. Now she lost her. As a coach, Brian, you know there's a lot to manage in these situations. You're talking to the refs, you're talking to the staff, you're talking to the players, and sometimes you can't be bothered to do an interview.
Well, if it's an interview with you, Evan, I never miss a chance.
Well, Grace is a nice person to chat with, too. But right now, Kelly's talking to Casey Akeda, her assistant. And now, Grace is standing by with Kelly. Well, we're going to try to get that in a bit. We'll take a timeout, review our Friday six-pack on the other side. It's 13-9 Seattle at the half here on Friday Night Frisbee.
Field and test your mettle against the Shred mascot. Who can catch more hucks?
Got to the end zone. Coleman putting on the Jets and hitting the turf. The Summit are tripling up the steal.
Shepard shooting it. That's a beautiful touch. And Yap is there. That was really nice from Shepard. Gorgeous. It's now time to crack open another Friday six-pack presented by Pabst Light as we run through 6 major storylines this week in the UFA. Number 1, the game of the week here in Week 5. It's a rematch from 2 weeks ago. The San Diego Growlers and the Atlanta Hustle. The Hustle still undefeated. They're 5-0, looking incredibly strong, but no team has played them tougher, perhaps, than the San Diego Growlers, who took them to the brink a couple of weeks ago out west. If not for Dean Ramsey's heroics at the buzzer, overtime would have beckoned, and who knows what would have happened from there. Remember, the Growlers came from behind in the fourth quarter to tie, so they had momentum before Dean Ramsey snatched it back. Hustle trying to get to 6-0 before their Week 6 road trip at Minnesota on Friday, at Chicago on Saturday. More on that in a bit. Number 2, the Oakland Spiders stay undefeated and get to 5-0. It's also another critical game for the Seattle Cascades. They got the tough back-to-back with Salt Lake on Friday and then at Oakland on Saturday. And desperation time, obviously, for Seattle after a disappointing start to the season. For Oakland, they've been as impressive as anybody in the league this side of Atlanta. The offense for the Spiders in particular, with Evan Lepler, Leo Gordon, Adam Reese, Walker Frankenberg, and others. Oakland is a really good team. They've got an advantage in Seattle being on the second day of the doubleheader. Number 3, 2 Central squads seeking a bounce-back win. Talking about Minnesota's road trip to Pittsburgh. Midfield's disappointing home opener last week against the Chicago Union. And Pittsburgh also struggled, particularly at the start, against Madison. So check out the first quarter of this Saturday game at Highmark Stadium. Whoever can get out to the early lead will probably be in pretty good shape as the Winchfield look for a road win at Pittsburgh. Number 4, another team looking to bounce back. Colorado Summit, after a disastrous Texas road trip, losing on Friday at Houston and Saturday. Closer game, but still a loss at Austin. Now Colorado back in Golden, facing the Oregon Steel. Oregon coming off the big win last week against Seattle in overtime, but the Steel struggled in their season opener against Colorado. See if the Summit do what they're supposed to do at home and get back to 500 on the season. Some of the schedule gets tougher going forward. Number 5 this week is a matchup for the ultimate Frisbee sickos. It's Detroit and Indy. Not a matchup that we like to see in the playoffs this year. And hey, if I'm wrong about this, I'll eat my words. Bring it on. But for these 2 teams this week, the Mechanix and the AlleyCats, it's a golden opportunity. One of them is going to get their first win of the year. For context, Detroit has lost 86 of the last 87, dating back 8 years. Indy has been outscored 57-38 in their first 2 games. One of these teams is going to be feeling good after their Saturday victory against their divisional opponent. And number 6 this week, quick look ahead to next week, because we got a tremendous Friday schedule next week in the UFA. Got to be the biggest Friday night of the season. Interdivisional must-see matchup on Friday Night Frisbee. Atlanta and Minnesota, free to watch for everyone on the UFA YouTube, but that's not all. DC and Toronto, Oakland and Colorado. That's the only week of the regular season between the Spiders and the Summit. A rematch between Salt Lake and Seattle at the home of the Cascades. And also have Indy, Madison, Houston, LA. And that's all just on Friday night in Week 6. Watch UFA.tv. Absolutely essential to have a subscription for next Friday's incredible 16 UFA slate. And then catch another tasty Friday night 6-pack presented by Pabst Light, America's quality light beer.
Back here at Zions Bank Stadium, Seattle in front 13-9. Let's try it again with Grace Bulow standing by with Cascades coach Kelly Johnson.
Thank you, Evan. Kelly, I want to know, what mindset did you get the Seattle Cascades in before this game? Because they came out fiery.
I mean, the story of our season has been underperforming and not being ready for the moment. So we talked about being able to be in our bag, lean in the confidence, and just flip the switch. If we don't lose that first game in week 1 by 1 point, what is our attitude? What are we doing? So it's just buying into using that frustration as fuel and being ready for the moment.
Okay, and one more question I have for you. You guys had kind of a rough start to the season. What is it going to take to get your team back to champ weekend this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I think it's starting small. I think we feel like there's a big mountain ahead of us, yet there's very small things that we need to do on the O, on the D side, for both sides of the ball to be successful. So I think it's not overthinking, continuing to trust our systems, and having that individual belief that we are big enough and ready for this.
Absolutely perfect. Thank you so much. Back to the booth. Thank you.
All right, 13-9, Seattle in front. It's an interesting perspective to have, Ryan. It's 1-3, and you're one away from being 2-2. You had another 1-0 loss there back at home. The whole season's still ahead of you.
All right, fans, we're about to get started. We're on defense.
But you know Salt Lake is going
Which
to
means it's time to get loud.
everything they can to get that.
And
in
the
here.
disc
So
is up.
There's a very juicy couple of quarters ahead. Beautiful sky overhead. in Salt Lake City.
Yeah, even with that final goal that Salt Lake was able to put in, you got to ask yourself, would you like to be up by 4 going into the second half? And the answer is yes.
From their own end zone, the deep shot to
Another perfect throw.
Connor Belfield. Zeppelin Rowning scored the first couple of goals, hasn't found the end zone since.
Into the end zone.
Garrett Martin is
Garrett Martin
in.
pulls it down
Just
for
30
the score.
seconds. The Cascades convert.
Making that
Up their
9-14.
lead to 5.
We talked about it in the first half. The amount of hucks right now that the Cascades are throwing, and Christian Foster alone only threw 15 of them last year. And he just keeps adding to his total as we go forward. The game plan, I would have thought, would have been stop Seattle from hucking. Because when they did that once in the second quarter, they forced a turnover, got a break. And so far, we've still seen the Cascades running wild deep. First it was Rawnig, then we saw, just as late, Belfield. They have a lot of speed on their O-line. And the bigger question now is, what adjustments did the O-line make? Because they looked out of sorts. And credit to the Cascades playing great defense. There's been no connection to the downfield cutters for Salt Lake.
Miller.
Well, look, there's a lot of differences, a lot of changes to this O-line from last year to this year. And this is just the third game of the season for the Shred. The offense looked great against Atlanta for much of the night. The Vegas game is a different level with the Bighorns. Oh, my. That almost found the ground off Jordan Kerr's hands. No more Sean Cannell. No more Grant Lindsley. Simon Dastrup. Ben Field. But they still got Chase Dunabile. They still got Jordan Kerr. And they're back within 4.
And that looked really good coming out of this half. A really good offensive possession. Not super quick, but taking easy throws. They got into one jam that Jordan Kerr worked it out of. Usually we talk about the offhand throw being a lefty. He throws the righty. A little bit of a duck, and it's rescued. And from there, it was pretty easy from that point forward. Just keep moving the ball. And I think you saw at the end there, Jordan Kerr was decisive with that final goal-scoring throw. They have not been decisive as an offensive unit so far. They've been hesitant. They've been getting themselves into traps. And now they're working a little bit better. We'll see if the defense can adjust.
What can you do as a coach to foster decisiveness from your offense?
It's confidence. It's just saying, move forward. Don't worry about what you're seeing. We're going to work through it. And it's a lot of a mental, emotional state. It's not really about X's and O's. There might be some small adjustment that opens up things. But that was a good first possession in the second half to work through the Seattle defense, which has had their number.
Remember, Seattle's Tony Goss caught a huck contested grab early in the game that helped Seattle break it open in the opening minutes. Garrett Martin always seems to get open, and then that throw incomplete. Looked like a score when it left Martin's hands, but it would not find the target. And now just the second break chance of the night for the Salt Lake Shred D-line. Floating it up the line, Jeremiah Branson. And, well, Bryce Merrill, who didn't have many chances to take these type of timeouts in the first half, not letting it slip by here just over 2 minutes into the second.
It's always a tough call. Do you use that timeout now? You have a D-line that was moving the ball. They were maybe in a little bit of a jam, but they got out of it. And you could have forced that O-line for Seattle to feel tired, especially early here in the second half. But at the same time, you're looking for a way to emotionally get back in this game, keep the momentum positively on your side, just instilling confidence and belief back in your team. And if you're going to go with your trusted guys, get your O-line out in the field and go convert early. Either one, right? It's a toss-up. These are the gut decisions that Bryce Merrill has to make. And he was telling you there, he's saying, I need to get my O back in the field. I need to punch in this break.
Disc in the hands of Braden Eberhard. Quickly to Jordan Kerr. Looking downfield. Double team finds him, and he discovers Jacob Miller in the backfield. McKay Jorgensen to his brother Chad.
Chad's looking deep. Still analyzing. He has to break side, swing back to McKay. Continuation to Kerr.
Here's Kerr.
Lefty.
Chad in the red zone. Trying to get the Shred back within 3. Salt Lake seeking their second break of the night. Russ Nagel gets there!
Bring it back to within 3. It's 11-14. We're clawing our way back.
Huge opportunity right in front of them. And Russ Nagel makes sure that it's true. They're being decisive. They're getting back in a rhythm. And this was an overthrow for sure that Russ Nagel saved. And now that energy is there. That belief is back.
He's the oldest guy on the Shred. And he's not exactly ancient. Russ Nagel will turn 32 in 3 days.
What does that make us, Evan?
Ancient.
Hey, you were telling me earlier you can go out and give me one flick huck, right? You got 3 sprints, 1 flick huck, and then you've got a pulled hamstring.
No, it was 1 sprint and 3 flick hucks.
Disc is up.
Miscommunication between me and you, I think. All right, it's first time in a while it's been a 3-goal game. Salt Lake has not been within 2 since the score was 5-3 way back midway through the first quarter. But here come the Shred. Pugh picks up. Double team. Scoobers it. McKay. They could use a swing, couldn't they? A lot of traffic. And now finding their spacing. Going back to that pylon right in front of the Salt Lake bench. McKay into the end zone. Salt Lake has the break train choo-chooing for the first time tonight.
In the first quarter, it was Seattle taking advantage of unforced errors by Salt Lake, and now Salt Lake taking advantage of an unforced error. Foster's had a great game so far, throws away that swing, and then it wasn't pretty. It was not pretty, no. But you got to let your D-line cook a little bit and have this opportunity to fast break. They do. It doesn't have to be pretty. They throw weird stuff, they get completions, and they work their way through a tough situation to bring it within 2.
Last time Salt Lake was within 1, the score was 3-2.
Let's keep this break train rolling.
7:44 to go in the first.
How does Seattle respond, putting what looks like to be a different line on the field?
Onga hunting, and the footsteps might have helped get a drop out of Mark Munoz. Shred, that close to being back within 1, but Weinberg can't pull it in. My goodness.
Oh, my goodness, like you said. Ugh. Both teams settle down a little bit. Take a breath.
What is it with these two teams on this field?
Once you open up the floodgates, the turnovers come. There's a question of where the dish should go in. Okay. We're getting reset.
One step away from where he initiated.
All right. We don't need to argue about it more.
It's going to cost Seattle 10 yards.
All right. Well, that's the cost of one step. Make sure you line up the right way, folks.
27-year-old Derek Morad gets it ahead for Mikey O'Brien. And we got a stall. Salt Lake has it on the doorstep. Derek Knighton in his UFA debut. What do we got?
Some communication going on.
Looks like an official timeout. Joe Strong, Nate Dutry trying to get on the same page. All right, Knighton flips it. Weinberg is in! It's a one-goal game.
They've woken up. They've woken up. Seattle in a rut. Can't find a way to get the first throw off. Kind of a tough time, and just a miss by Munoz.
This would have been really sweet, and the crowd would have gone absolutely nuts, but a much easier score after the stall, and Kyle Weinberg punts the plastic. 14-13. It is a 7-2 run for Salt Lake.
That makes me want to be in the crowd. This is a fun stadium to be in. Just chaos ensues every time these two teams meet.
They got a great fan base. This place is rocking right now. Thanks for staying up late with us wherever you are. Back east, Friday Night Frisbee presented by Pabst Light here in Week 5. Next week we'll be in Minnesota, back at the site of Championship Weekend 2023. The Atlanta Hustle and the Minnesota Wind Chill in a tasty interdivisional matchup. Of course, Atlanta has to deal with San Diego tomorrow. The Growlers, if you hadn't seen, won in double OT tonight at Carolina. Foster resets for Tommy Lee. Big swing for Connor Belfield. Past the midway point in the third, and oh my goodness, what happened? Tommy Lee just lost it. Salt Lake looking for the tie. 14-all. Branson in the end zone for the shred. I don't know what happened here with Tommy Lee. Wow, the disc maybe just waffled on him at the last second and missed his hands and caught him in the face. It almost looked like he lost it in the lights, but there was no direction. There were no lights in that area he was looking.
Almost like he blinked when it was coming at him. And these strange errors now are just adding up for Seattle. And this is the type of thing where they wanted to use the frustration before as motivation. You can't really use this frustration very easily.
5 straight scores for the Shred. And a timeout taken by the Cascades. Gene LaRue throwing the 46-yard goal to Jeremiah Branson. After that Tommy Lee drop. There's still a lot of time left. I mean, we got a lot of twists and turns left tonight.
Yeah, but this is a hard place to be if you're the Cascades. I mean, you have all of the positive momentum erased. Every bit of it. And it's these self-inflicted mistakes that have nothing to do with Salt Lake and everything to do with themselves. And this is tough. This is really a tough place to be on the road. The crowd against you, nothing's going right.
The disc is up. Let's get pumped.
Kyle Weinberg with a big soaring pull. Disc centered to Christian Foster. Underneath, Garrett Martin with the footsteps of Sam Pugh nearby. You can just see the skip to the step of all these Salt Lake defenders. And it's Moronga getting the block, anticipating the throw. The Shred could take the lead here. Sam Pugh launching. Raunig there to rip it away for the block. What a big play from Zeppelin Raunig on the deep shot, looking for Weinberg. A little too casual from young Sam Pugh right there. It's going to be a bump on the mark.
Moronga playing deep. Basically poaching off in center field, so to speak. And Belfield tries to gain a lot of yards against him, but Moronga is coming from a position where the thrower can't see, gets the block.
Let's go.
Another big bid, but nothing but air for Forsberg as Foster keeps it alive.
That's an interesting matchup there. Forsberg with that length on Foster, who's had all of those hucks, taking away what Foster does best and forcing Seattle now to work it all the way down the field.
Cascades really are being forced to work right now. Every throw feels contested. Wolf back to Belfield, right on the midfield line, back to the German. And now Foster with a big Forsberg marking him.
Nobody cutting downfield. The tiredness setting in.
There's
up the line, Ambrose accelerates, floats it. Did he put it too high? No, Belfield able to pull it in. And Seattle takes a massive deep breath and a sigh of relief as they get to 15 first, barely.
I'm joining them up here in the booth. Ugh. It is so tough at these situations where nothing's really gone right. People are tired. You got to find a way to make a play. Ambrose gets open, and it looks like you said, is it going to stay too high? Is Knighton going to be able to come in? Belfield making a strong catch.
Go to the campus page to learn more.
Ambrose going to stay out there.
Purchase mini discs for Hucks for Bucks and support our elementary programs with the new UFA Professional Frisbee.
Belfield involved in 4 different scores so far tonight. If you joined us late, what a day of Frisbee it's been with college nationals getting underway in Burlington, Washington. The UFA with tremendous one-goal games in Carolina and Philly earlier tonight. And here, Seattle jumped in front 3-1. They led 8-4 at the end of one. The lead was as large as 6 before Salt Lake had a crazy sequence at the end of the half to get back within 4. They were down 5 after Garrett Martin scored early in this third quarter. Shred living dangerously here, but yikes. Chad Jorgensen still got it. Now Jacob Miller to Jordan Kerr. And we are tied again.
James Dudelisle pulls it down. Time to score at 15. 2:58 to go.
Early on the possession, it didn't look like the Shred were working it really easily. But as soon as they kind of break through the jam, like breaking through the ice, the water flows pretty easily. The defense for Seattle is playing quite well right now, and you get these little moments, and here comes Sweeney flying in, almost gets the block, and from here, it's easy. That block reduces all the pressure of the block attempt, and it's easy pickings at the end of that possession, but a good defensive spot for the Cascades. Not getting the stop, but getting an opportunity to get another block.
What a Friday night in the association. Could the Vegas Bighorns get their first ever win in franchise history tonight? They've got a 10-9 lead currently late in the third quarter against Oregon. That game available to watch live right now on watchufa.tv. 2 one-goal games earlier tonight, including another double OT thriller with San Diego edging Carolina. Growlers pulled on that double OT universe point. Bookends for Stefan Samu. Growlers are 4-1. Here, two teams both looking for their second win of the year, but different situations. The Cascades after a trip to championship weekend last season, and a foul's going to be called. Which way are they calling it?
Little bump. So
Cascades are going to get the free 10 yards and just back in the hands of Goss. A 1-3 start for Seattle. A disappointing overtime loss in Portland last week. Reset to Wolf. Continuation. Martin can't get there. Aaron Wolf wants that throw back. It's another chance for Salt Lake to try and take their first lead of the night. Bryce Merrill's only got one timeout left. Brian, do you consider using it, or do you trust your D-line?
You got to keep it going right now with the D-line.
Mahonga shoots it into traffic, and it is incomplete. Off the hands of Felipe.
He had it, too. He timed the jump right. Just didn't get the hand in the right spot.
Wow.
Off his fingertips.
Saw him make that grab earlier tonight.
The margins are so small sometimes.
And this is the type of point everybody's tired. Gigantic deep shot, Raunig in pursuit. But 3/4 of the field chewed off with that throw. Raunig resets for Martin to Wolf. You can see everybody's tired. Final minute of the third. High intensity, high enthusiasm game. Seattle again dodges the bullet and keeps their nose out in front just by a smidge. 42 seconds to go in the third.
Survival. That's all that matters when you're not playing well. You still have an opportunity here. And Wolf on the first one was just too far out in front of Garrett Martin. And here a golden opportunity. Throw into double coverage. Froebe almost gets it. And you could feel it. You could just feel the frustration. And Raunig, yeah, I would throw it to him deep every time. And after that, everybody's tired. Just play throw and catch. That's all you have to do.
Derek Morad taking basically 70 yards of the field with that shot. How many receiving yards for Zeppelin Raunig tonight? Not as many as you would think, because I'm surprised to see only he's got just under 200. Chad and McKay Jorgensen, the two leaders in total yards for the Salt Lake Shred. Here's Rusnagel. Here's the aforementioned Chad Jorgensen.
23 seconds to go.
McKay, 20 seconds for Rusnagel.
Back to Snog, back to McKay. Running back and forth. 14 seconds.
Miller, 30 yards from the end zone.
Continuation.
A gainer. Chad Jorgensen low laser to a sliding Kerr with 6 seconds to go.
Kerr was calling for it. He wanted it. He knew there was a golden opportunity there once the break went off.
Salt Lake will receive to start the fourth, so if they can get a stop here, their O-line will get a chance to take the lead. But now 7 seconds officially on the clock.
This is bread and butter Shred offense. Get the give-go to the break side, keep the momentum going, hit the receiver that's already open. By design, getting yards, easy yards, after you get the first break.
Ryan, if you could yell one thing to the defense here with 7 seconds left, what would your advice be?
Don't let Christian Foster throw it.
Wow.
Time's gonna run
starts
out.
on the touch. The pull receive mishandled by Morad, and that's the end of the quarter.
And that's the end of the quarter because he touched the disc.
I guess if you throw a knuckleball with the pull, that skips off the receiver and bounces away and time runs out. That's as good defense as you could play, huh?
And good news, folks.
Let's not give too much credit to the throw.
Quarter.
All right.
Okay, it's time for
Seattle's led by as many as 6, but a 5-0 run in that third quarter has brought Salt Lake back even. 12 minutes remain on Friday Night Frisbee, 16-all here in Salt Lake City.
On the green, huge bid, gets the touch. It's a great opportunity for the Germans, and they break with ease. Throw it the full 80 yards to the field. Are you kidding me? And an incredible catch. Are you kidding me? Oh my God!
Throw like a pro with a new Pro Ultimate Frisbee. Created with input from the sport's premier passers, the Pro Frisbee is specially designed to fly through the wind and maintain its edge. Experience the official Frisbee of the UFA and get yours at shopufa.com today.
We head to the fourth quarter here at Zions Bank Stadium. Seattle and Salt Lake 16-all in this Week 5 showdown. Tomorrow night, the UFA Game of the Week exclusively on WatchUFA.tv. San Diego at Atlanta. Growlers coming off a double overtime win tonight at Carolina. Next Friday, Atlanta at Minnesota. Friday Night Frisbee, free for all on YouTube. And then the Week 6 Game of the Week is a doozy. The Hustle on the second day of a back-to-back against the 1-0 Chicago Union. Great games ahead and a tantalizing fourth quarter right here, right now. Bryan Jones, McKay Jorgensen initiates downfield for Jacob Miller. A big gainer to Chad. Salt Lake has not led tonight for a single second. They were down 1-0. They tied it at 1-1. And they got broken and 2-1, fell behind 3-1. They trailed by as many as 6.
And that was a big gain up the middle, nullified by a pick call. Salt Lake has not looked that comfortable in their vertical stack, and they were in a horizontal to start out that possession.
Great crowd on hand, great atmosphere, and a reset requires a layout from Miller. Jacob as trustworthy with the disc as anybody in the league, and the stall count rising, and he finds the hands of Jorgensen. McKay was looking for Kerr, but Ambrose's footsteps were nearby, so Rusnagel shoots it for Dunabile past the bid, and the Cascades fall behind for the first time tonight.
Wow. I did not expect that throw to go up. This window isn't large, Evan. When this throw goes up, Rusnagel doesn't hesitate. Sees the window, likes the option, puts it out to space.
Look at this bid. Mikey O'Brien taking a flight, but coming up empty.
I think O'Brien, he sat there for a second. I think he was shocked the throw went up, because I was. He wasn't in that bad of a position to defend it, but Rusnagel made the right throw to Dunabile.
Fair to call this the most pressure-packed offensive point of the night for Seattle?
I think when they were having trouble, they might have been facing more pressure. And now there's a little bit of, what are they feeling? Are they feeling resignation that they've given up the lead? Or are they feeling excited to attack? Christian Foster has seen a lot of ultimate. Hey, but this mark here is going to be tough for him to deal with.
Well, Forsberg prevented the reset that way. Now Wolf hanging in Callahan country. Mounga on the mark, and it creates a turnover. The Cascades are crumbling. Mounga on the goal line. Takes the reset for Weinberg. And then back up the line, it's Mounga. Salt Lake leads by 2. This is wild. It's a 9-2 run to transform the 5-goal deficit early in the third to a multi-score lead for the hometown Shred.
Well, as soon as they figured out how to stop the Huck, right? Key number 1, let's start back in the receivers. Key number 2, let's put Forsberg on Foster. Let's put our biggest length we can there. And then Mounga and a little bit of Chad Jorgensen helping out, getting the short field turnover. And that's what's tough. Aaron Wolf gives a little bit of space, just relaxes for a second, and it turns into a break.
I can only imagine what Bryce Merrill is going to say if his team can escape tonight with a win, missing all the guys they're missing, playing as poorly as they played at times in the first half. And if Seattle gives this away with a trip to Oakland on tap tomorrow, the Cascades, who were in championship weekend on this very field last year, could fall to 1-5. This is not a bad Frisbee team, Brian, but something is missing for the Cascades. They haven't been able to put a full game together. Even the game that they won, they didn't play great. It was a really tight game at the half in their win over Vegas.
They don't have the confidence and the cohesion right now on offense to work through the tough spots, which is putting them in this hole. And yes, there's talent on this team, and they have to figure it out, but they've been the best team here tonight, and they've looked like the worst team for sure in the latest moments.
After the foul, it's Martin. Garrett Martin is in.
Bring it back to within 1. That's
1-goal game. 8:28 remaining in the fourth.
I love watching Jack Brown there because he knows he needs to celebrate. Martin, he's a workhorse. He gets the goal, no celebration. Jack Brown sitting there bringing a little levity to the moment. You got to find a way to have fun. You got to find a way to have that energy. Yes, you should have scored before. Brown lays us out, and he's thrown these goals before. But he goes and he gives a little bit of a celebration. That really is important here for a team that's reeling, finding a way to make a play.
That's interesting, because I wouldn't think that would be something that you as a coach think about, is your team celebrating after a score.
You have to. You have to celebrate your team. You have to be enthusiastic about what you're doing. How do you expect everybody else to bring that energy, do all the dirty work that's necessary, get down in the pole, if you're not willing to celebrate success on a team level?
That pole hung in the air for a long time and landed out of bounds by less than a foot.
And it was a brick.
And it will be Salt Lake's disc at the brick, 20 yards outside of the goal line.
Here goes Kerr, going deep.
And disc is in.
But not even really a thought to try to even throw that. There's not this deep connection right now that's making offense easy for Salt Lake. It's had to be done through unders over and over again.
Jacob Miller, a couple deep looks, and now connects with Chad underneath.
Back to Jacob.
If Salt Lake can hold the rest of the way, they'll have themselves a hard-fought win, but it's not going to be straightforward. It can't be straightforward. My goodness! The Shred turn it over. A little greatness conserved there on the laser beam shot from Jorgensen after the sensational bid to maintain possession initially. Whoa. Cascades 80 yards away from the 18-all equalizer. Under 7 minutes to play. And Joe Strong, the head official, says Seattle initiated from the wrong spot, and it's a 10-yard traveling penalty. Sweeney lets it rip. Asher Lance, can he get there? Oh yeah. Accelerating away from Chad Jorgensen. The Cascades break back. A counter punch from Seattle, and it's 18-all. Told you it wasn't going to be straightforward.
It never is with these two teams, is it? Just a little bit of regular Frisbee, some possession-oriented. Nope, got to be chaos. Got to be mistakes. Makes it fun, though. But even so, I'm watching these celebrations. This is a big moment on the field. We're going to see the turnover here. And just the heart rate goes high. You make a play like this. That's why there's such a thing as conservation of greatness, because mistakes can come. Ooh. And then Sweeney makes the right decision. Put it deep. Put it to your tall guy, Asher Lance. After that's pretty easy, but Seattle not really celebrating this goal that much. They're not flooding the field. These are such tough games. You just want everybody going and bowling and bringing that energy.
Seattle's now 10 of 11 on their hucks. Well, one stat that speaks to the story, Salt Lake only has 3 blocks on the night. Seattle's turned it over 15 times, and Salt Lake only has 3 official blocks. Here we go again. Froebe and Dunabile and Ambrose, and it's caught on the deflection. Dunabile, unbelievable.
Up by 1, 19-18.
Just watching Dunabile all game long, I think in every single instance he's had a shocked look on his face of just either making tough catches, near misses. In this one, wow, right in the breadbasket.
I'm about as speechless as I've ever been calling a game right now after that last play.
Just enjoy the ride. The Frisbee gods have blessed us with turnovers.
And the debut of the new Salt Lake Shred mascot.
Here, have some cheese, take a seat, get some crackers, because this fourth quarter is going to end up with, we have no idea how, but it's going to happen some way.
If ever you need a reminder, never give up on the play. I mean, Dunabile right there. Ambrose gets the deflection. Looks like he's got another block. Instead, it's a Dunabile score. 19-18. Under 6 minutes to play. Martin. Oh, what a block! That's Kyle Weinberg showing up. Incredible.
You said they didn't have enough blocks.
Tony in the backfield.
Weinberg must have heard me. That was phenomenal. Looking to reestablish the Salt Lake 2-goal lead that they held earlier this quarter for the first time tonight.
Nice quick swing continuation.
The Jorgensens are doing it all tonight. Derek Knighton, his first ever UFA game, disking his hands on the goal line, resets to McKay.
One more to Sam.
Sam Pugh into the end zone. Alex Forsberg.
We just can't wait to see another view of this Weinberg block. It was sensational, coming from the deep space under, lining up. Afterwards, they work it really nicely, getting that break. And this is kind of the performance we expected to see from Salt Lake. Young D-line coming alive.
Well, some of these guys have been thrust into bigger roles. Here's that block you're talking about.
It looked open, but that door closed quickly.
Look at the crowd. What an atmosphere, what an event.
And the disc is up.
4:48 to play. Seattle down by 2. They led by as many as 6.
D-line still on the field, a chance to
Staring a 1-4 record with a back-to-back at Oakland tomorrow, straight in the eyes. Laser beam shot on target, shy of the goal line. It's O'Brien. And he floats it into the end zone. Christian Foster is there.
Bring it back to them 1.
Just 26 seconds, all it takes for Seattle to cut the 2-goal gap in half.
Exactly what you needed is a quick score. And Belfield, knowing that, double clutched the look. To look deep for the huck earlier in the point. Had an option, pump faked it, decided, you know what, it's still too open for me not to throw it.
So 4:22 remaining in a 1-goal game. Can the Shred get to 2-1, or can the Cascades find a way through this madness to eke it out and get to 2-3 ahead of their 3rd meeting against the Spiders as they reach the midway point of their season tomorrow? Chad Jorgensen pestered by Jack Brown's an eye on the reset. He's looking for a stall. He doesn't get it.
Barely got it off in time.
Luke Jorgensen, the 3rd Jorgensen brother, got a cast off his broken wrist a few days ago. Hasn't practiced though, still days from coming back. Kerr sending Rusnagel. Asher lands some contact from behind. He got the disc too, and it will be a pass interference penalty. It was an incredible piece of athleticism to get the Frisbee, but it certainly looked like there was contact. The argument continues, but it will be Salt Lake's disc.
So Rusnagel will get it at the front of the end zone.
Rusnagel to Miller. Frustration continues to build. Lance is screaming at Rusnagel. They're chirping back and forth. Wouldn't be surprised if we get a technical or two coming out of this mess. We saw fireworks in the distance. We have fireworks here at Zion's Bank. 2-goal lead with 3:12 remaining. I understand the foul call. I saw him put a little elbow into the back. Seeing the replay, I think it's less of a foul, and I'm with you. I think a no call would have been acceptable, but I also understand what the official saw, which was Lance going into the back as he was getting ready to jump and make a play.
And the disc is up.
Wouldn't be Friday Night Frisbee without a little late game controversy. 2-goal game with under 3 minutes to play. What do we got here? Which way are we going? Violation against Seattle, and Forsberg getting the crowd going.
Fans getting loud. They lose 10 yards. Send to the Bird step.
Yeah, precious seconds ticking away for Seattle. And we got a whistle from the Cascades sideline. Not sure if Kelly Johnson was asking about the clock or maybe even thinking about a timeout. Each team has 1 timeout left.
They lose another 10 yards.
It's so loud, here in the stadium right now. Tough for anybody to communicate. Yeah, I mean, the clock is still ticking, and for these type of infractions, the clock is supposed to tick, and you're supposed to resume play. Foster sending it deep, and a whistle. This is not going to count. Belfield brings it in. This is a mess right now. I mean, the stadium clock is still ticking, but now the official is waving the arms and signaling to stop the clock, and they're going to have to add some time back. But the Salt Lake sideline is revving up the crowd, and Christian Foster is looking for answers. Yeah, Kelly Johnson's right on the sideline official's grill. 2 minutes, 30 seconds on the stadium scoreboard here at Zions Bank Stadium.
And the clock is reset to 2:30.
All right, here we go. Salt Lake trailing by 2, and Foster rips it deep. It's a beautiful shot into the deep space. What a catch! Connor Belfield, draped by multiple body defenders, brings it in. Scoobers for the score. And we still got 2 minutes plus left. And Garrett Martin's got another goal. And the outcome remains very much in doubt tonight here in Utah. Whoa. Casey Ikeda talking to the Seattle offense. Salt Lake's offense out there right now. Slight bobble of the pull received by McKay Jorgensen. Under 2 minutes. Salt Lake trailed by as many as 6. They currently lead by 1. The score right now is the exact score of the West Division final, except Salt Lake leads by 1. Oh my. Seattle picks up on the doorstep. Munoz resets. Cascades do have a timeout if they need it. They'd love to save it though. Sweeney. He was blocked on the mark by Kerr. Jordan Kerr gets the hand block and gets possession back for the Shred.
Wisely slowing this down.
Clock still ticking toward 1 minute.
And they can run out the clock. Everybody's tired. Kerr, is he recognizing? We've seen this strategy from other teams.
Well, Seattle needs to dig deep and try to create one final turnover.
Gives it up. Back to
Braden Eberhard pivots into the contact, doesn't get the call. Oh my. Deep shot, casually launched. Kerr, did he get it? Was it a foul? It's going to be Salt Lake disc, a strip, and the score is awarded, and the crowd goes crazy. Jordan Kerr with a game-sealing bookends for the Salt Lake Shred. What a night.
Fans, did you notice the Frisbee theme music in our last home game? The music was created by Shred fan and
just amazing.
Shred announcer.
An amazing game back and forth.
You can buy my album at bandcamp.com.
Looks like it's going to be great, but it's lefty on lefty crime. Kerr with the hand block. And then just left open deep. You have to go ahead and take risks if you're Seattle. That was a nice strip. I gotta say, it looks smooth.
No major argument, though, from Mikey O'Brien. And when Kerr realized he had the goal, looked to the crowd. You know, shout out to the Salt Lake crowd. I don't know if they win this game without this crowd, Brian. Just the energy that they played with in the second half when they needed to make a run. And they need 2 goals in less than 30 seconds if you're Seattle. Morad, Blades looking for Raunig, and he makes the catch. Somehow, Seattle will not die. Zeppelin Raunig able to pull it in against Kyle Weinberg.
They had to throw up a prayer. They had to get something done quick. Seconds. It's really not that much time. It's a matter of 2 to 3 passes here for Salt Lake. Roller pole.
And disc
Not
is
starting the
up.
clock.
Seattle's going to set a double team.
Double team.
Lance
turnover.
and Shipway.
Score is 18 seconds.
Eberhard picks up, blades it to Jorgensen. Salt Lake needs just a couple more completions.
All we need to do is keep control of the disc. And
We got 5 seconds to go and it's over. The Salt Lake Shred escape against the Seattle Cascades here on Friday night. The Shred come from 6 goals down and get the sweet revenge they've been seeking after last year's playoff heartbreaker. 22-21. Salt Lake sends Seattle spiraling to 1-4.
On behalf of the Shred owners and all of us, thank you for coming out tonight.
Christian Foster
You are the reason we do
showing
what
some
we
frustration
do.
at the end
We
there.
appreciate the energy and support you bring to every game.
Some maybe
As
controversial
always,
calls.
the walkway, congratulate
The clock was
the
running
team.
down.
Players will come by and high
What a
five the
battle
front row.
at Salt Lake.
Feel free to come on the field.
Seattle
Throw
came out
around
with the
the
start they
players.
needed.
Get
They
it
had to
done.
have it. They looked like they were in control of this game, and then Salt Lake woke up in that third quarter, and it was really their game from then out. Still some chances for the Cascades late, but a great performance to come back by a young D-line missing a lot of stars.
Absolutely incredible Friday night of Frisbee all around the league. In the first 39 games of the season through 4 weeks, there had been 7 one-goal games. Tonight there were 4. New York beat Philly on the road by 1. San Diego over Carolina in double overtime by 1. The Oregon Steel came from behind in Vegas to deny the Bighorns their first win. They won by 1, 14-13. And here at Zions Bank Stadium, as you see the final numbers, an absolutely wild 22-21 victory in front of their rowdy hometown crowd.
One of the best atmospheres in Ultimate. In Seattle.
Yeah, they're right in front of us right now, the Cascades, and you can just see the looks of disgust and dismay. And they got to regroup and play an undefeated Oakland team tomorrow in the Bay. Salt Lake did not have its A game tonight, Brian, but they found a way. And this is a gutty win, the type of win that, down the road could be the difference between a first and second place finish or a second and third place finish, and whether they get a home playoff game in front of these fans.
Yeah, shaping up for a great battle against Oakland in the future, right?
Yeah, well, they got the Spiders next weekend, the Shred do. They got Seattle again on Friday night, and then, I beg your pardon, no, they got Seattle and then Oregon on Saturday, and then the following weekend is when Salt Lake goes to Oakland on June 6th. That's going to be a heck of a Friday night, too. That Friday night includes DC, New York for the first time this year, and Salt Lake and Oakland for the first time this year.
What a great slate of games. It looked like at the end, I'm wondering, is there going to be any repercussions here for Christian Foster? Because he got teed up talking to the refs afterwards. Wonder if there's going to be any possible suspensions.
I missed it, but I trust you, and I'll take a look at the footage, and I'm sure the league will too. We're going to have a quick chat here with our Pabst Light player of the game. Chad Jorgensen of the Salt Lake Shred finishes with a game-high 539 yards, 5 scores, a ton of heart, a ton of playmaking. Chad is standing by with Grace Bulow.
Thanks, Evan. So I don't want to label you guys a second half team, but what on earth happened in the locker room that you guys came back like that?
And yeah, honestly, something about Bryce, our coach, is very good at getting us fired up. He knows exactly what to say. He knows where our heads need to be, and obviously, some things were not going our way at the beginning, and we just kind of needed to turn it around, and he just said the perfect stuff to tell us, what to do. And bringing all the intensity, our defense stepped it up huge. Getting a big break train was incredible. Getting a lot of momentum. It was huge for us coming out of that halftime.
So what do you think it's going to look like the next few games? Do you think that you're going to start off hot? Do you think that, what's it going to look like? Yeah, totally. I mean, obviously the plan is to start off hot every game. We definitely have some games where we just, take it slow at the beginning, and that's not what we want. Obviously, we know that we can bring it, and we know that we can bring anything back from deficits. And, it's just a matter of getting it going at the beginning rather than the second half. And, we like to give our fans a good game, but it's a little too close for comfort sometimes. So we're playing Seattle again next week, so we're going to start bringing it out early, a lot better this next week, we hope. You excited to have the guys that you were missing this weekend backfighting the Cascades with you next week? Oh, totally. Yeah, I mean, they're out of nationals and they're doing well, but it's definitely going to be good to have them back. But honestly, our guys stepped it up today. We had a lot of young guys come on the field today and made some big plays. Really, really intense, tight defense. Third quarter, fourth quarter was incredible, so we're really proud of them. Incredible. Okay, I'm going to hand the mic to you because I got to open this up. Yeah, let's hear it. Happy Friday, everybody, from Pabst Light. Oh, that was crisp. Back to the booth.
All right, Grace. Chad Jorgensen, the player of the game, presented by Pabst Light. It's a rare night in the association when Chad doesn't get a block, but he did more than enough tonight. And it's up, and it's a perfect throw. Nice grab. Loud feedback going on right now, Isaac. Brian, let's just take a deep breath and wrap this one up with a final thought from you. Seattle looks like a team that could compete with anybody, and yet they're 1-4. They could likely be 1-5 if they can't figure out Oakland on the road tomorrow. Gassed after this roller coaster tonight, and the Shred gutted out.
They gutted it out. They did it with a young D-line. And I'll tell you what, Evan, I've never seen a loss like this affect a team in a regular season. For Seattle, you got to wonder, they knew they had to pull out one of these two games. And you just got to hope that they find a way to get through this emotional loss because they got another tough one tomorrow. They had that lead. They built it up. They look good. But you can look like the best team and you can look like the worst team, and they didn't have it all the way through.
Teams that advanced to championship weekend here at Zions Bank Stadium last year are now 4-11 combined to start the 2025 season. That's unbelievable. Carolina falls to 0-4. Seattle drops to 1-4 on this frenetic and thrilling Friday night. WatchUFA.tv is the site for the rest of the action this weekend, including the game of the week. Tomorrow, it's San Diego and Atlanta, 7:30 p.m. Eastern opening pull. Again, exclusively on WatchUFA.tv. A thrilling weekend of Ultimate Frisbee, and we were grateful to have an absolute burner for you tonight. But the Seattle Cascades, despite a brilliant first half, fall just short again. It's Salt Lake 22, Seattle 21. For Bryan Jones, Grace Bulow, and our entire production team here at Zions Bank Stadium, I'm Evan Lepler saying good night. Thank you for watching Friday Night Frisbee.